Everyone, it's a pleasure to be with you once again. I'm Dave Hager, the CEO of Devon Energy. I'd like to give you an update on where we stand right now on the reclamation process created by the event that we had last Wednesday. It's hard to believe it's been a week now since the event happened. And we have really positive news to share today that I think the most important thing is all the operations that we've conducted during the past week have been done safely, and there have been no injuries of any kind as a result of the initial incident or any of the follow-up activities that we've been doing to help us to recover from that. So we feel so positive about that outcome above everything else. In addition to that, as many of you know from the initial event, we had a number of windows that were cracked by that initial event, as well as some other debris that was on the outside of the building. As I stand here today, all of that debris has been recovered from the outside of the building, and we have largely completed the process of any windows that were cracked by the incident have been remediated. And I'll explain to you what I mean by remediated in a minute. There are just a few exceptions of a few small cracks in windows that are in a special type of window that cannot be, just the way they're physically located, cannot be accessed from the inside of the building. They have to be addressed from the outside of the building using the same window washing unit or building management unit that created the initial incident. We don't think that these cracks are significant, and so we feel at this point those cracks that remain that have not been remediated are not posing a significant risk. And because of that, last night we were able to resume all activities on Robinson. We gave the release yesterday afternoon to resume the streetcar activities that were necessary on Robinson. Last night we gave the all clear about 9 o'clock or so to resume pedestrian traffic and all cars on Robinson. So we're largely back to normal on Robinson, totally back to normal. We still do have a perimeter that is a part of the Myriad Gardens, the northern part of the Myriad Gardens, that we are restricting at this point. We believe if we get through these storms, then we may be in a position to even further reduce that perimeter. So frankly, we'd just be contained within the Devon complex itself. I mentioned that we have remediated the windows. We looked at a couple of different options, if you're interested in the details on how we remediated these windows. The first option that we looked at is, could we lower the building management unit, or the window washing machine, as many of you may think of it as, could we get that recertified, lower that back over the building, and apply what we call a laminate to the outside of the windows, the cracked windows, to stabilize those windows so that they could withstand the impact of any storms or anything like that. Frankly, due to a number of issues, that did not turn out to be possible. So we went to Plan B. And Plan B was a quite complex and somewhat involved some risk that we had to mitigate very, very carefully, which involved, this is double pane glass that is pressure sealed. And so we actually had to knock out the inner pane of glass that was actually perfect, and then to get to the outer pane of glass that had the cracks, and then knock it out as well. And we did it in a very special way so that this glass, the intention that the glass would come inward into the building and not go outward outside of the building. And that involved a lot of complex operation, even things about equalizing the pressure, or actually creating a slight vacuum of pressure inside the building relative to the outside of the building, so instead of blowing out when these were broken, that they would actually come in. It's very specialized work. We had people wearing a specialized Kevlar bulletproof vests in order to conduct this operation, and it's just so pleased that we had true professionals doing this. And it did take some time to get it all done. We had to shut down for a while during the storms on Monday, but the end result is we have done all of that now, and then we've put up at this point essentially plywood in those windows. You'll notice them as you go by on the south side of the building in particular. You'll see some of these that are now just encased in plywood that are very securely placed in there. And then we have to special order the glass, and so it'll be a period of time in which it'll take in order to replace all the glass and retain and get back to the original beauty of the Devon Tower, but it still looks pretty darn good as we stand here today. And so we are so grateful for the way everything turned out. I will mention also one thing that we're also very cautious of on Robinson particularly is, if you recall, we not only had storms potentially on Monday, we did have some storms Saturday morning, and we did have a piece of glass that had been cracked actually break and fall out of the building and fall onto the glass and what we call the cold cord connector, the connection between this Devon Tower we're standing in right now and the cold cord hotel, and it shattered out on the patio for Flint. And so given that event was where we took the extra special precaution that we were very careful not to open Robinson too quick, because that came not too far away from the way the crow flies, really, probably 100, 150 feet away from Robbins. And so we were careful to that we didn't want to have anything else from the potentially even stronger storms on Monday that we thought were coming to impact it. So again, that worked out very well. So here we are today. We're in good shape as we speak, and we've just had so much support from the community going through this whole process that I want to make sure that I recognize some of the key people that first we apologize to, but also we thank for all the support that they have provided during this entire event. And so we have representatives standing behind me as some of the key constituents here. From John Rex Charter School, we have Dr. Joe Pierce. Thank you very much. We're sorry we had to have the children relocate for a couple of days over here at the Devon Tower, but hopefully we treated them reasonably well and they enjoyed the event very much. From the Myriad Gardens, Leslie Spears. Leslie, thank you so much. We've obviously inconvenienced the Myriad Gardens a great deal with some of the events. We tried to do all we could to help them relocate events, even a wedding, help to relocate and help out financially. So we're sorry for the inconvenience, but we're giving you back part of it. We're planning to give you to return the whole thing as quickly as we possibly can. We also have from the police department, Captain Clint Teal. Captain, thank you so much for all that you did. Obviously, this was an ongoing operation for many, many days, blocking streets that we asked you to have blocked. We had a lot of events going on. We had graduations going on this weekend, a lot of activity going on. So thank you so much for all the help that you did to help us get through this period of difficult time that we had. And then from the fire department, we have Chief Richard Kelly standing here, as well as Battalion Chief Grant Roberts. I mentioned it before in one of the interviews. The fire department is the math I hear is, I think if I have the numbers right, last Wednesday morning the first call was at 7:43. Don't quote me on this, they probably know better than I do, but if I remember right, it's 7:43 and they showed up at 7:47. And so within 4 minutes, and they were up on top of the building immediately, providing immediate assistance for the people that are in the window washing unit, got them safely back onto the building, no injuries at all from that. And their quick response, their intelligent response was really fundamental to the overall results that we had from this initial incident. So thank each of you so much for that response. And I know beyond these 5 people here, there are other people that were impacted. If you had graduating seniors, you were impacted. There are events going on down here, other activities going on downtown. Again, we apologize for the impact that we had, but we're very grateful for the response for the community and the support that we had during this time, and we're, again, very grateful that everything turned out safely. So with that, be glad to answer any questions you have.
I have a question. Do you have any idea the damage estimate, how much it's costing to make these repairs?
No, don't have a good estimate on that yet.
Dave, I know it's been a while, it's been a week since the incident. Have you guys gotten any kind of preliminary information on what the
It's still, we're still gathering information on that. We have information. We don't have any conclusions at this point, but obviously we're going to, as Martin Herman, our Director of Security and the Incident Commander, has said previously, this is going to be a very thorough investigation involving a number of different organizations, and so we don't want to jump to any conclusions until we complete all aspects of it. So we have gathered a fair amount of information, but we're certainly not to the point to draw any conclusions yet.
Has at least equipment in service, is it going to be back in use to mitigate some of the other,
We think that potentially the windows that have minor cracks in them, we think that potentially that we may be able to use it for remediating, and again, it would be the process of placing that glass laminate that I mentioned previously, that we may potentially, and there's a process under which you can get what's called an emergency certification for it, and we think that we can do that and remediate. So that's one potential solution that we see for those. But again, we don't consider those windows and the nature of those cracks to be so much that they pose a significant danger.
Has there been any policy changes, or is that something that's being looked at as to how the windows are cleaned?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're looking at everything. We're looking at, what process we use for cleaning windows, the frequency of the cleaning. We're looking at all aspects, and so when we come up with a solution here and the cause and what we think the solution is, it's going to be a comprehensive solution. Yes.
Obviously, a huge undertaking to get these repaired. No one ever anticipates something like that to happen so high above to so many windows.
Well, this is a very unusual event, and obviously none of us, I can tell you when I came to work last Wednesday morning, the last thing I thought I was going to be working on that day was window washing units that entire day and much of the next week. So I don't think any of us anticipated. There are, just so you know, there are extremely well established procedures already for how these windows are, how you use this unit. Remember, Hines essentially is our building manager. They manage buildings on a worldwide basis. These are the type units they use other places, the procedures they use other places. So, this is not a one-off type thing at all. And so, but definitely we're looking at everything.
Those two workers back at work, everything?
I don't know that for sure. You really have, and that's up to their company and them, but I can't say that for sure.
So I saw different workers out on lawns and yesterday evening picking up lawns. I know the south side of Hager Gardens is open, the north side is still closed. Are you going to have workers going out there cutting for the grass? I mean, what level of confidence do you have, taking care of the grass out of the grass?
Well, if you're this morning, when I got to work here, I don't know exactly how many. We probably had 30 or 40 people doing exactly what you're describing, going through the glass out here on Sheridan and on Myriad Gardens to make sure that we are finding all the glass that's potentially out there. Yes.
Do you have a timeline when you think Sheridan might open back up or Gardens?
Not an exact timeline, but we're pretty optimistic that if we get through these storms that are pending today, that it's possible we can shrink the perimeter back very soon.
Do we know approximately how large that perimeter is?
Well, you can see it if you go out there. We actually have temporary fencing, and so and I believe it's essentially on this side of the Crystal Bridge, and probably the lady from the Myriad Gardens can describe the parts of the Myriad Gardens a little bit better than I can. I don't know if you feel qualified to step up here and do that,
Sure.
but you can do that probably better than I can.
Sure, they opened up the south portion of the Myriad Gardens, which includes the Crystal Bridge, the Children's Garden, the dog park, our carousel. What is closed is our Great Lawn, where we show our movies and have concerts, our Minders Terrace, where weddings happen, and just on over to Hudson. So we were really grateful to get the south side back open, and grateful to our partners at Devon. We were a team together. So we're very grateful.
So basically, everything right now is kind of hinging on the weather, what the weather does, right? Is that kind of?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and we feel very confident, but with what we've done here, but we do have a few pieces, and we think, well, as long as there's some weather coming in, let's wait until the other side of this weather to be really confident before we shrink the perimeter even further.
Will the weather be part of the test to see if what you've done holds up?
We're confident that what we've done is going to hold. You know, we have secured those windows very well. I've walked up next to them. I get total confidence that they're secured very well. So, no, we aren't concerned about that.
Are any offices where those windows were damaged, or have those been cordoned off, or since they've been sealed, are they still operational?
The people that were in offices that were impacted by that have been relocated to other parts of the building. We have space here.
Anyone else? Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so. Thank you very much.